everyone, and welcome back to the Couch Buddies. I am Blade.
And I'm DJ, and today, guys, Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, everyone!
Happy New Year, everybody! This is our 10th Couchisode, which
Woohoo!
also marks the first one in 2021.
Oh yeah!
So we want to extend the wishes to everybody. We hope that you'll have a better year than 2020 was. There's nothing to talk about it. We know exactly how it was. So let's just put it behind our backs and hope that this year would be of growth, of successes, and everything that you have wished for. So guys, we wish you a very, very good 2021. And without further ado, we want to start this 2021, kicking it right off in a good way. So, Blade, do you want to talk about a game today?
Maybe.
Okay, so take it up.
Okay, so games, arcade games.
Okay.
You remember the arcades?
Yes, I do remember the arcades, although I might not remember all the games from the arcades, but I do remember the arcades.
I remember this one pretty well. I played it on the arcades and on the ZX Spectrum. They were quite similar, except for the graphics, of course. It's a game that came out in '83 called Tapper. You know this one? It was also known as Root Beer Tapper and Bud Tapper, because it was originally developed to be an advertising for the Budweiser beer. And it was later changed and just went over to sell all over the world. It's a fun game.
A game about alcohol and beer. So
the game is quite simple.
Where would we see that in 2020 or 2021? Actually, sorry, 2021.
It would be hard, yeah. No, but it was a quite fun game. It was very simple. You played a barman, and you had 4 counters and a door in each counter, and the customers would come in and start to slowly move in your direction. You would need to move into that counter near a keg, and you'd just put a beer there and throw it to them. It would slide to them, they'd drink it and throw it back to you, or you'd hit them and they would be close to the door and they would exit and it would all be fine. This was basically the game. You just have to go up and down on the 4 lanes, the 4 counters, serve beers, and when they threw the mug back, you had to pick it up, because if it fell, you lost. You had to restart the level. And some of them would leave tips behind, and when you picked those tips up, on the back, you would get a few dancers, and it would distract a few customers, and they would just stop moving. This was awesome when you needed to calm things down, so you could move between lanes fast enough just to get things going, because the first few levels and the start were quite easy. You had very few customers, they moved slowly, and they didn't drink much. You could get them out the door pretty quickly. But as the game picked up the pace, you would have loads of customers, and a lot of them were throwing the mugs back and picking them up and serving everyone and guaranteeing that no one got to the end of the counter and just kicked you out of the bar. Was quite a challenge. It was quite a fun game, and I actually tried playing it like a week ago. It's still quite fun to play nowadays. It's a very nice game.
Well, I guess there's not much to it to the game. You just said it's just like pouring beers in glasses, throwing them to customers, and throwing them back at you. So I guess that the overall difficulty of that game is going to be the increasing speed that the beers or the customers would come, and you'll have to serve the beers.
Yeah, the speed and volume of customers, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess that that was pretty much what we used to see on the 8-bit era. That was basicing.
I think it had 4 different levels, if I remember right.
Well, I get it, but what I'm saying is, I mean, if I know exactly what type of game you're talking about, it's a very common challenge that we had back then, with very limited games. I mean, the space for each one of the games was very limited, so there couldn't be a lot of levels or a lot of graphical art or stuff like that. It was just the game itself that usually would increase speed or difficulty to make sure that it would keep it a challenge, because usually that would happen.
But it was so addictive.
I didn't play it. I'll give it a go. I'll see what I can find. If you said it was for the arcade, so that there's probably some online website that can give us that experience.
And it's the best version you can play. It's the arcade one, for sure.
Okay. I'll give it a go. Let's hope that guys, let us know in the comments if you played Tapper. I haven't. So, but yet again, Arcades was not much my thing. I was only in arcades in a much later stage than that. So yeah, let us know if you did play Tapper on the comments, and if you enjoyed it.
It was so much fun.
Oh yeah, I get it. It probably was.
So, and you have any good games to talk about today?
Well, I'm not sure about good, but I do have games. So that's already a start. The reason I don't know about if they were that good is because, despite that the game that I'm going to talk about was, was quite praised by the high, the advanced graphics itself. When I did play it, I felt that something was missing, but we'll go into it in just a moment. So the game I'm going to talk about is the Terminator Skynet from 1996 for MS-DOS. So this was a computer game, or a first-person shooter that was based on the franchise for the Terminator. And I think this was one of the Bethesda attempts to keep milking the cow of the Terminator franchise. I mean, 1996 was, shortly after a few years after the release of Terminator 2: The Judgment Day, which was quite a box office hit. I mean, it was like huge, and obviously James Cameron recognizes a great director for it already, which he just solidified his position in the directing world. But this was originally intended as an expansion pack for the predecessor, the Terminator Future Shock, which was a game that came up a few years before. But then it was adapted into a standalone product, and it was developed by Bethesda in 1996, as I mentioned. The positive reviews, as I said, were basically due to the good graphics that it has, and it also had included a multiplayer mode at that time, which could be played by, like the usual dial-up connections that we have back in this day. This is, as I said, the first-person shooter, so it's first-person perspective. It had 8 levels, and it required the player to, to solve a number of objectives before continuing to the next level. I mean, pretty obvious stuff here. And while you're fighting, Terminators, and with a variety of guns and grenades and stuff like that. So the obstacle itself on the game, besides the Terminators and the HKs and whatever, was the terrain, because in many areas you had high levels of radiation and you couldn't actually go through them. So you would have to find alternate ways of going forward. You could navigate on foot, you could navigate in a jeep with a mounted cannon, or with a modified HK fighter that you could actually, get into and wreak havoc around the map itself. You would get like a briefing before starting the game, and you would have an idea of what you needed to do in each one of these levels. It also featured the deathmatch mode, although I mean, I wasn't really much of a fan of the multiplayer here. I'm a big fan of the Terminator franchise, and I was usually playing these games because of the story. And this is exactly what I was trying to say, that I don't think the game was really that good, or any game at all, from the Terminator franchise, at least to my recollection at this point, because they always tried to give a different overlook of the story. I mean, they were not based on the movies, and I guess that if they were, probably that would be an issue, because everyone already saw the movie, they know what happens. But I never felt that there were like good adaptations into games of the Terminator, besides the ones that actually replicated the movie, like the Terminator 2 arcade game and stuff like that. That I think we talked about it briefly. I remember, for example, I think the Super Nintendo had one of those shooter games that was I don't remember, the Terminator something, and it was a shooter game where you would go like virtual cop, shooting, with an arrow, with a crosshair, and you would shoot. Again, I think those were some of the ones that I had the most fun playing. But this one, I mean, again, it was a different story. I mean, it was again the same environment. The world was devastated by the Judgment Day. You have to fight the machines, John Connor, yada yada yada, and all. And I mean, we all know the story about that, right? Again, not a game that is available right now. I tried to look it up on online stores, and especially GOG. I couldn't find it available. But as we always say, Uncle Google is your friend, and he can talk to you about this game, and he can probably make it available for you again for you to play. But my personal experience, I did play this a lot. maybe not as much as other titles, but I did play it a lot because again I was a big fan of the franchise, and I wanted to explore every single game that I could about it. I played Future Shock before this one, and I played also the Terminator Skynet. I also played the Terminator Rampage, which was another title of this loads of series that came out of it. Again, nothing much that made it a great game, but again, you know, a game that I played, and that's exactly the point, which is talking about the games that we played back in the day, and you know, giving you some experiences on it and what was our take on each one of these games. So, Blade, did you play this one?
Yeah, briefly.
You did play it briefly.
Yeah, it was not that good.
No, I get it. I mean, I can't say it was, but again, it wasn't bad at all. I mean, it wasn't like terrible. I mean, it wasn't like I don't know, body blows terrible, but it was I guess it was a decent game. I mean, yeah, it got some high praise for, you know, the graphics at least.
Yeah, it worked. It looked pretty.
Yeah, it did the job, I guess. So, what about you?
Okay, I'm going to stick to arcade games today. I'm in an arcade mood.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk about a game that many people might not know about, and it's quite similar to another one that people for sure know about, that is Bubble Bubble. But I'm going to talk about a 91 game from Data East called Tumble Pop. You know this one?
The guy with the vacuum cleaner that shoots rainbows and eats ghosts.
Yeah, shoots rainbows and vacuums the ghosts up. The ghosts are very weird. Some clowns and all.
Kind of weird, you know, setup there. Yeah. You know, like the vacuum shoots something, which means it's expelling the air, but yet the ghosts go in.
Nah, you just suck them in. You keep them on the back for a while. If you keep them for too long, they come out and you die. But you just need to grab as many as you can, then release them, and they would go just tumbling down. That's why it's called Tumble Pop. And it would pop everything in its way. It would bounce off the walls and everything, and it would kill everything in its path. And would unlock the bonus letters, so you could type Tumble Pop and get extra lives. It was quite fun, and after a few levels you got a boss, and the dynamics were usually the same. Just grab a few enemies, get them in the backpack, shoot them at the boss. But it was quite fun. If you played Bubble Bubble, the mechanic was basically the same, but you trapped the enemies in the balls, then you'd burst them. And
trapping the enemies in the balls and burst them.
Yeah,
I guess that's the phrase of the episode then.
Yeah, this sounded so wrong.
Yes, it did, my friend. But you know, back then we didn't have those problems. I mean, who would imagine that we would have games of, you know, serving alcohol to people? That would be unacceptable in 2021. But again,
and popping enemies in the balls.
Yeah. I mean, to try, you know, if you want to try to if you want to try to talk about sensitive topics, you know, try playing the Oregon Trail. You know, that was a good one. That was a good one.
That was it should be called the Despair game.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, I you know, there's this joke, there's this meme on the internet, and you kids talking about how Fortnite is difficult. You wouldn't even get past Kansas River in Oregon Trail.
And
that was a good game. I played it the other day.
You should check out the American Dad episode where Roger plays the Oregon Trail.
I did.
It's so much fun.
I did play that game recently though. I was into it, and it's on these online you know, emulators, and I went
it's easy to play online
because it's such a terrible, I mean, not terrible in terms of the quality. The game is actually good. It's terrible in terms of its difficulty and how things change, you know, because it's a game that can have multiple paths depending on what randomly happens on on your way to your destination, which is, I mean, just fabulous. But again, you know, enough about Oregon Trail. I guess we can talk about it in another day. But yeah,
really have to talk about it.
Vacuum cleaning ghosts, I guess that's something that people need to look out for.
Yeah, we need to change the theme song of the game then, and just call, who you gonna call? Ghost suckers. Okay, I'm going to shut up now. Just play the game and talk about another game.
Ghost suckers. Ghost suckers. Yeah, man, I don't think, you know, don't think they would like that. Yeah, okay, forget it. I'm not gonna comment on that. Jesus
people
Christ.
should know that this isn't long enough after the new year, after the Réveillon, so we're still a bit fuzzy. This episode will go so wrong. Couchisode, I'm sorry.
Still got my sunglasses here. I can put them on top of these ones.
And recover.
Yeah, and I can sing Johnny Cash like this. Early one morning while making the rounds. No, okay, I'm gonna stop and take this off. So, wow. I'm gonna talk about the game now because your jokes are too terrible. So I'm gonna stop
Extremely
you right there.
terrible.
So yeah, I'm gonna talk about a game, and you were talking about arcades. I'm not sure if this game didn't have an arcade version on it. I have a slight recollection that I've seen this game on an arcade, but maybe people in the comments can tell us that, or even you if you know, Blade. So the game I'm going to talk about is Star Wars Episode 1 Racer from 1999.
Oh,
and
that was so much fun.
Yeah, it was a very fun game. I couldn't find any evidence, but somehow I have this recollection that the game was somehow I've seen the game on an arcade or I don't know. Again, guys, if you know more than we do about this, just let us know.
I'm seriously not sure. I remember playing it on the PC and on the N64, I think.
Yes. So this game was ported to multiple platforms. I mean, Game Boy, N64. There was even, I believe that it was already released. Let me check here. I think it was June 23rd, 2020. There was a new version, a Nintendo Switch version that came out for it. Was a remaster of this game, if I'm not mistaken.
No, you can find it on the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One also.
Yeah. It was
re-released.
Probably you did. I mean, I don't have here information of all the platforms that it was released to, but I know that it was released for several platforms. So, I mean, what was Star Wars Episode 1 Racer? Originally was to be called Pod Racer, but LucasArts found out that was actually another company that already had the name Pod registered as a game, so they didn't want to go into any legal conflicts or anything like that.
There was a racing game called POD.
Yes, yeah, I don't know, but I don't know if that was the relation to that. I mean, at least on the official information on Wikipedia about this game, it doesn't really connect to that game POD, which I also know, and I know which game it is. But again, about the game, it was based on the pod racing scenes of the movie Star Wars Episode 1: The Phantom Menace. Obviously, we remember all seeing young Anakin Skywalker racing some of the most vicious racers or pod racers at that time, and ultimately battling his nemesis Sebulba, which was
Giovanni.
No, little Lenny.
Okay, you just messed your throat up.
I can't do this. No, this guys, this is not scripted. This is original. I even have to drink something.
Oh yeah, you have to recover.
Your Jedi mind tricks don't work on me.
But my Jedi throat tricks work on you.
Yeah. Don't talk about throat tricks because that might we are a let's say a kids friendly channel.
I'm completely annihilating this Couchisode.
Yes, you are completely. Jesus Christ, shut up. Okay, so about the game, it had some of the courses in Tatooine, which was the one that we see on the movie, but it also had other planets into the mix. It had most of the racers that we've seen on the movie and some extra that were exclusively created for the game. And it had Jake Lloyd and Louis McLeod actually portraying Anakin Skywalker and Sebulba, which were the same characters that did their voices and also reprised their characters in the Phantom Menace. So basically the same people. So for Louis McLeod was actually the voice of Sebulba, and for Jake Lloyd was actually himself the kid that made interpreted the character of Anakin Skywalker. So it was a game that graphically it was. I mean, for me it was spectacular. I remember playing this game and seeing it for the first time, and the sensation of speed was so good on that game.
Yeah,
and it was such, I mean, it created such a nerve-wracking experience, because at some point it was so fast and you were inside these caves and you had to go left and right like all of a sudden and so fast that I could see myself actually playing that game with those two throttle joysticks that you use for Flight Simulator, you know, because that's how they played it in the movie, like, you know, going front and the other one back, just to, you know, pull the rudders and the yaw. I think it's the yaw, not the rudder. Anyways,
it burst the engines that were on the front.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it depended on the pod racer, but yes, generally all of them were in the front. The one that Anakin Skywalker used was those long tube ones.
Yeah.
But there was some different ones in the game.
That game was so good.
The challenge on this game was the team that developed it was, I mean, they had a challenge, because they had to define the physics engine of the game based on just a few short clips that they had from the movie. I mean, if you remember, the pod racing scene is like what is I don't know, it's not a big scene that they could actually take, you know, examples from the physics from. So, but actually they turned out very well. Even there was some comments from the developers that they were really pleased with the end result. And I mean, and obviously the game speaks for itself. It was very acclaimed. It had some good single player modes. It also featured the multiplayer. I've never tried it, to be honest. I've never tried the multiplayer of Star Wars Episode 1 Racer, but it was probably fun back in the day, especially because of the whole, you know, the whole frenetic game that it was especially on the racing side. The game actually got a release, a DRM-free release from GOG. It costs like a little over €2. I mean, it's one of those games that it's a safe bet. I mean, you will have fun with it if you play it. It's rather amazing.
You will, for sure.
I have it. I bought it like long time
awesome.
ago after this digital distribution was released. And guys, it's really worth it. I'm sure that a lot of people played it, but I I have to say that 1999 was really the turning point for me in terms of computer gaming and, you know, 3D accelerated graphics and stuff like that. So this period of the early 2000s really has I have a sweet spot for it, and there's a lot of games. I'm probably going to start bringing a lot more games from this period, because these are the ones that I have an up close experience, and this was really great. The ones that are really still fresh in my mind, and I sometimes grab them and play them just for the fun of it. And guys, excellent game. Just let us know in the comments if you liked it or not, because this was an excellent one, a really excellent one.
Top game.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. So Blade, what do you think? Do you think that we should say goodbye to the people at home for now and see each other next week?
Yeah, I shouldn't open my mouth a lot today.
Yeah, so stay shut.
I've already traumatized a lot of people, so I'm gonna shut up and I'll let you just put an end to this and save people, because if you let me talk too much, it won't be good.
Exactly. Guys, thank you very much for watching. You know what to do. If you like, leave a like. If you didn't like, leave a dislike. Consider subscribing to the channel as always, and we'll see each other next week for another Couchisode. And guys, once again, happy 2021, and may all your wishes come true.
Happy 2021, guys. Have an awesome new year, and see you next week. Game on.
See you guys. Game on.